it's likely Spider-Man will never appear in the show, according to the showrunner. So Josh Keaton must be playing another character. Yeah, it's bait. It's bait. We're getting Spider-Man.
And it shows a certain trooper in like full black armor.
Oh, really?
And it's like it's a weird, like randomly just focuses on this one, clearly in different armor. Clearly it's like, okay, why have we suddenly just focused on this person? To which my mate was like, what if that's tech?
King Shark, aka Nanawe, first appeared in Superboy Volume 4.
I'm gonna say photography because I think that's what you're getting at. And it's a weird one because I don't like. I guess I could be classed as a nerd for photography. I don't know if
camera handy. Have you got your camera handy?
Yeah, it's
show them your camera. The internet is having a lot of fun with that at the minute, and I hope to find out who it is. I would love for her to get asked in like her neck press junket. Like, you let this story slip, and the internet wants to know who it was. Hello, and welcome to episode 104 of Cutscene Combos. We've had a bit of a mixed bag of a week. This week we've got our character profile on King Shark. We've got Bad Batch episode 4. We've got some slightly sad but interesting news surrounding the Invincible show. We're going to be discussing what else me and Hori are nerdy for.
Nerdy for.
And then, of course, we've got some Nerd News Network, as always. But before all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
You've just thrown me off with the way you said that.
Being professional, man, God damn it.
No, I won't be professional. It's our podcast. I can do what I want. What was this week? I'm trying to think.
Such a weird week.
Yeah. I've kind of just been working on personal projects, 3D stuff, playing around with different design stuff, kind of spending some time like learning new skills, like putting some time into practice and shit that I have kind of not done for a while.
Yeah. That stuff you know in principle, but you've not used in a while, so you just want
to
like flex the muscle a little bit.
Yeah, and also just like it's fun getting to fuck around with personal ideas and have some fun. Other than that, just kind of gaming. Girlfriend started a new job.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, good for her. And then kind of a chill week. Been to the barbers. I'm not wearing a beanie this week, as you pointed out already to me.
I'm just so used to my hipster co-host that when you weren't wearing a beanie, I thought it was like a harbinger of the apocalypse.
To be fair, I hadn't been to the barber since like early December. So I was long overdue.
That's really long.
For me. And when you have a fade, generally, like 3 months is like, that's non-existent anymore. So
just to put it in perspective, because I don't know like how aware the podcast will be. I have a lot of hair. I've not had a haircut since before. Put it this way, if I said, how about this pandemic, last time I got a haircut, they'd gone, the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, see, my hair grew out over the pandemic, but then I got it cut.
Yeah, I just never did. I never got back to it.
One day you're going to turn up on the podcast just skinhead.
Yeah, no. I've said increasingly over the last couple of months that the temptation to just get, like, I call it a skull shaver, but it's not that short. But you can get like them buzz cut.
Yeah. I know which one you mean.
That you literally vroom, 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 and it just all even all over. The temptation to get one of them and just deal with it is real, because sometimes I'm just like, I cannot be fucked dealing with this amount of hair.
Yeah. No,
but as with everything, it's always fleeting, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been my week. How's your week been?
Fair enough. My week's been chaos. I don't know whether I'm coming or going most of the week. And it seems to be everyone's like that this week. Jenna said to me this morning as we were getting ready for work, she was like, I woke up at 6 a.m. and I thought it was Saturday. And like yesterday during work, I thought it was Thursday. Oh, it's chaos. No one knows what's going on this week. It's
to be fair,
really weird.
I feel like it's been Friday today, so
yeah, it's really weird week. I don't know what's going on. But we've been playing some Helldivers, and I've been enjoying that.
What when you're killing me?
He's being dramatic. Anyway, Should we get on to our character profile?
Yes, I think we should.
This week's character profile is the last in our series of Suicide Squad characters. So this week we have got King Shark, last but certainly not least. Now, as opposed to the other character profiles, this is going to be pre-New 52, because the availability of information on King Shark post-New 52 is crazy, especially when you consider how much more popular he's got in the last, 4 or 5 years through media adaptations. So this is all pre-2011.
Okay.
King Shark, aka Nanaue, first appeared in Superboy Volume 4, number 0 in October 1994. Nanaue is a humanoid shark. His father is the shark god. He hunted and ate many people around the island of Hawaii over an extended period of time with the help of his human family, before a Hawaiian cop named Sam Makawa was able to bring him in. This did, however, come at the cost of permanent scars to Sam and the loss of fellow officers. And it was, by his own admission, extremely lucky they were able to bring him in, even with the costs as they were. Shortly after this, Superboy arrived in Hawaii and was busy battling the Silicon Dragons gang. This gang then decided to try and break out Nanaue in the hopes of convincing him to battle Superboy on their behalf. However, unimpressed with them, he simply killed them and escaped by himself using the opportunity they had created for him. This led to Superboy and Makawa deciding to work together to recapture the rampaging and dangerous villain. Once Nanaue was caught and turned over by Superboy and Makawa to the police, Amanda Waller added him to the Suicide Squad roster, including Knockout, Sidearm, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang, to help aid them in their mission to go to the Silicon Dragons underwater base and destroy it. As part of that mission, Nanaue was assumed dead, only for it to be discovered eventually he was actually alive and well. After a few more tussles with Superboy and other allies of Superboy, he would get the call up to the big leagues by Manchester Black to join the Legion of Villains in an attempted assault on Superman and Metropolis. After this failed attempt on Superman's life, Nanaue moved away from the Super family and instead targeted Aquaman and Atlantis. But not for ill-gotten gains. He was in fact a begrudging ally of Aquaman after it became apparent that Aquaman had saved him, and Nanaue's father instructed him to aid the King of the Seas in any ways he could, as without Aquaman or the King of Atlantis, the seas would fall to ruin.
Yep.
It's really interesting because reading this old information on King Shark, he's nothing like that in modern depictions. And while there will be some King Shark fans who became a fan of him back in the 90s,
yeah,
I think overall he's a much more interesting character now. This kind of big, lovable idiot who's inherently dangerous it is a trope from a bygone era, but because it's not been used in so long, it kind of works.
Yeah, and I think also because it's paired with a shark.
Yeah, you've got this terrifying looking creature that's just kind of like, hello. And I think the way he's being used in a lot of media, with him kind of having these kind of funny one-liners or interactions, really do just make you go, shucks. Who cares that he likes to eat people?
Oh, he's a shark. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shark. He can't help it. So yeah, very, very interesting. And that does mark the end of our Suicide Squad character profiles. If there is anyone else you'd like us to cover, either in the Suicide Squad or otherwise, let us know down in the comments. The Bad Batch, episode 4.
My heart.
We're so
Dave,
back.
Dave needs to stop he needs to stop making me care so much about clones.
The Crosshair Omega saga
Hmm.
has been just so entertaining.
Oh yeah, like the whole her essentially whittling him down to actually stop pretending like you're not like still one of us.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? She's like locked onto him and she's gone, "You're going to pretend you don't give a fuck about me, but you do.
Yeah,
So I'm going to give you the choice to abandon me at any minute because I'm doing something you don't want me to do, but you're going to stick around because you're still my brother, and there's
yeah,
nothing and you're not going to go against that, no matter how much you like to pretend you will."
yeah. And it's that like I know that you don't believe these things at the Empire, and just because you're too scared to admit that maybe you were wrong for how hard you stuck with the rules and the orders, you don't want to admit it, but I'm going to make you admit it. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how she's whittled him down. But then those final scenes, man, when she re-met up with them, I was like,
Seeing Rekka's just booming voice going,
yeah,
"Ah, look at you." I was like, yes, it's so good. But it's really interesting though, because coming into this, we thought it was going to be most of the season was going to be them trying to
mm,
find Omega.
yeah,
We're now like 4 episodes into like what the 16 episodes or whatever it is,
mm,
and they're already reunited. So like now I'm a lot more worried about the planet
mm,
because I thought when they escaped last episode that we were going to have like 3 or 4 episodes of them like almost chasing each other, trying to find each other.
yeah.
But the fact that they've really reunited, I'm kind of like, oh, that planet's in big trouble.
Well, there's two. We're gonna have a couple of issues, I think, going forward. Because you've obviously Omega showing that she wants to go back and save the others. Probably more so Nala say that, but then also just generally wants to
All
save
the
the other
clones and
clones and
stuff, yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So it's like she wants to go back, which means they have to find where, which is a task of itself. Also get there and do that undetected while they're also being chased by
Yeah.
Hemlock. So then there's going to be this kind of we shouldn't do that. We should try and escape and hide. Um, I think the fact you said last week you were worried about Omega dying. I'm feeling more worried now, especially because Hemlock was like, well, that one sample. They're trying like Nala says trying to play it off as an outlier. He's like, well, we'll confirm that.
It's really techie. I've got a feeling they're going to do something that isn't often done and is going to hurt a lot more. They're going to have Crosshair sacrifice himself to save her, like jump in front of a blaster bolt or something,
Hmm.
and then she's still going to die, but like 2 or 3 episodes later. And it's not often done that way because they're like, oh no, because that makes their sacrifice worth nothing. But it would just show how dark this timeline is.
I have a better theory.
Ooh.
We keep being
By better, do you
shown.
mean sadder?
Yeah.
Oh.
We keep being shown Crosshair's getting shakes.
Yeah.
That's clearly for a reason. They're not going to
Oh
just show us.
no. Do you
It's
think
going
he's
to be
gonna
a
miss?
it's going to be a situation where he has to take a shot like really quickly to save Omega, and he's going to miss, and she's going to get killed, and
Oh
then
no,
he's
that's
going to feel that guilt.
see, that's not what I was getting from the shakes. I was getting it was going to be kind of a he feels useless now because his special enhancement isn't helpful anymore because he can't do it. And they
Well,
were
there's
going to be
also
like,
going to be
no.
that to it.
And then we were going to be like, no, we still love you, Crosshair. We don't care what you could do for us. We love you because you're you. And it was going to be a nice way of, telling people just because you can't do something you used to be able to do, you don't need to feel like shit about it. But now that you said that, you're almost certainly right. It is going to end up being something that gets someone hurt. It might not be as extreme as Omega, but it's going to be something that causes someone to get hurt.
Yeah, I don't see us having all four of the 9-9 alive. this.
That's not going to happen. I also need to see Wrecker and Batcher together because they're going to be best buds.
Well, yeah, we didn't. They didn't.
They just are.
They didn't get introduced, did they? At the end.
Yeah. Wrecker and Batcher are going to be my new favorite pair because they're just going to cause chaos together, and it's going to be great.
There's definitely going to be this element of they're being chased. I think Rex is still going to show up at some point and help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am worried about knowing, because obviously knowing what we know in like Mandalorian and their want for Grogu and stuff, and it's like clearly Hemlock obviously doesn't survive the whole way.
Yeah.
So it makes me. That's why I feel like he doesn't get Omega back. He can't confirm. Essentially, he's failed. Emperor kills him and moves Project Necromancy and essentially restarts it with people that don't know about it. Like, so then no one knows about it.
Maybe.
I
don't view him not being around by the time of the Mandalorian as big of an issue. Because if we think about it, the Mandalorian takes place, 4 or 5 years after the Empire? And this is still right near the beginning of the Empire. So this is like 20 years ago kind of range. Like before Mandalorian.
Unless he ends up going into hiding.
Yeah, he could die for any number of reasons.
That is true.
But I'm very much enjoying it. It's already not gone the exact way we thought it was going to go.
No.
Which makes it a bit more exciting because there's more room for us to be surprised.
Yeah, and a lot more room for things to go wrong.
I'm all in on a Crosshair redemption arc though.
I hope we do. I hope he does get the redemption, and I hope like Hunter and Wrecker can kind of welcome him back in. I have a fear. So you know how I was like, I think Tech's dead.
Yeah.
Because he would have been at the facility. Over the weekend, I was one of my girlfriends, and she lives with one of my mates, and he was watching the episodes for the first time, so I'm rewatching them. There's a clip when it's like after Crosshair's been moved out of his cell area, and it shows a certain trooper in like full black armor.
Oh, really?
And it's like it's a weird, like, randomly just focuses on this one, clearly in different armor. Clearly it's like, okay, why have we suddenly just focused on this person? To which my mate was like, what if that's Tech? It would be at the facility.
And
reconditioned.
We also know that the tragedy of Darth Plagueis is about the dark side of the Force being used for science that some would deem unnatural. Saving someone from the brink of death is not that indifferent to cloning.
And also Tech was originally like plugged into a thing. He's like, potentially they could like reprogram him essentially. Not like, like recondition.
If we have to have one of the 9-9 kill Tech, that's rough.
I was convinced, I was like, he would have been at the facility, we would have seen him, like they would have let on. But now when I saw that clip again, I was like, hang on.
Have to go back to the facility.
I was like, why are they focusing on, like, why have they shown that specific trooper in a different set of armor in a very like random moment? It's like, it's a bit too much, and we know Dave well enough. Like, he does things for a reason.
Yeah, when it comes to animation, people don't do things by accident.
So I'm worried.
I don't want us to have to see Tech die again, man. Another interesting thing I noticed. It's not so much noticed; it was a major plot point in the episode, but like we haven't really seen in the animation is the corruption of the Empire.
Yeah,
like the corruption of the Empire is like obviously a big part of like Andor and stuff like that. We've not seen that much throughout the Bad Batch because it's more focused on what the Batch try and do to survive. So seeing the Imperial officer on the planet engaging in the illegal gambling, then fining them for the gambling, and then taking their pet to find them again. It's just like and no one's going to stop him because Who
We,
cares?
yeah, and it somewhat shows how the Empire already, now they've switched off clones and they're switching to like troop, like they're already spread too thin, trying to
Yeah.
control things. So like obviously you've got these officers that are a bit more dodgy, running things their own way, um,
Who
taking
don't
advantage
necessarily
of their power.
exactly, and they don't even they're not even necessarily loyal to the empire. They're just loyal to having as much money as possible. So
Yeah,
if that means they have to sit on a backwater shithole
yeah.
and leave everyone else in poverty, it's like old school lords of like England who
Mm,
would have all this land and all the
yeah,
peasants would pay their taxes to the lord.
yep.
It's the same idea as that, just on like a galactic scale. There needs some
Yeah,
democracy and liberation.
it was cool to see for sure.
Um, onto Invincible. So we
Yes.
are at the time of
Mm,
recording, like literally 2 weeks away
2
from new
weeks.
episodes of Invincible.
Exciting.
And Josh Keaton, who voiced Spider-Man in the
Yep.
Spectacular Spider-Man show, has obviously got a role in Invincible that we all knew was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and he's confirmed it is coming up in one of the episodes soon.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's like, "Sweet, Spider-Man time! He's gonna voice Spider-Man. We're gonna get the Spider-Man crossover."
Yep.
Um, it's likely Spider-Man will never appear in the show, according to the showrunner. So Josh Keaton must be playing another character.
I'm gonna huff my copium, and
Yeah, it's bait. It's bait. We're getting Spider-Man.
it's
Spider-Man's
like,
coming.
well, here's the thing. It's like
They're not going
if
to
if
confirm it was Spider-Man.
no, if he's telling the truth, okay, he's not coming. Sag. If he is coming in, he's still going to say the same thing. He's not going to be like, "Oh yeah, you're all right. We're getting Spider-Man." He's not going to ruin it. So it's like it's like fucking No Way Home all over again. Oh no, they're not gonna show up. We're not doing any of that. And then boom, here they are. Like of course he's not gonna tell us that Spider-Man
Uh-uh.
is showing up.
That's
So
exactly where I'm at. I don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be massively surprised if they don't get it over the line.
no.
Like, it's not an easy thing to make happen. I don't know why it's so difficult though. If you can get it to work in a comic book when Invincible was much smaller,
Mm.
and they were like, "Yeah, no worries, go for it," versus now when it's like quite popular. Do you know what I mean? Is it?
It's all
But
money.
it just doesn't make as much sense. Surely Marvel would be like, "No, this is class. We should absolutely do this. Like, great. We'll
I
tie it in with our
yeah,
Spider-Man freshman year fucking cartoon."
it'll all be money. If
I
it's
know,
not,
it's just weird.
it's
When
just
it
it'll
get
be Disney wants a too big of a cut,
Yeah,
probably.
and this is the problem. We've discussed this before. The big money maker people at Disney, they will look at TV and film.
Yep.
They will leave the comic book department to themselves, which gives them a lot more freedom. Then
Yep.
it comes to Spider-Man's rights in cartoons. Yeah, if Amazon want to use them rights for an episode,
Mm,
$200 million trillion.
exactly. They just see Amazon
Whereas
backed
the
show.
comic book is just gonna be like, you phone up Dave from Marvel, and she's like, I would like to collab with Spider-Man. I have a character called Cock Dude. We'd like to do a collaboration. He's like, fuck yeah, send me over the draft. Let's see what it's like.
It's probably more like, oh, we have this indie comic that's called this, and they go, oh yeah, I saw that. I've been reading it. It's really cool. Oh
You know
yeah,
what I
we
mean?
can come up with something. Whereas, like you say, yeah. Oh, Amazon backed
It's
TV animated show. Amazon can pay the big bucks then if you want to use our thing.
exactly. We also got our first clip for part 2,
Yes,
which
we
was
did.
set on, I forget the name of the planet that we ended part 1 on.
The Bug Planet.
Yeah, with
Whatever it
Mark
was.
looking beat to high heaven,
Mm-hmm.
getting a bit of a pep talk from his dad's new wife.
So his stepmom.
Yeah, with her kind of going, or him going, "Sorry, I couldn't do enough to help you. I'm so terrible. I'm a terrible superhero. Please forgive me."
Yeah, it's like it's our
And
fault
she's like,
because we were here.
"Yeah." She's like, "We have really short lives. We don't have time to hold grudges. Thank you for trying your best."
Yeah, she's like, if your dad hadn't been here, I wouldn't have had his son. And if you hadn't been here, me and my son would have been dead. So what's the point in thinking about like, if we weren't here, this wouldn't have happened? It's like, well, yeah, of course
Exactly.
it would.
And I think that's part of like a larger motif, if you will,
But
because the Viltrumites across the 2 seasons have been a big part of. Look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. What are you gonna have in 2,000 years when everyone's dead? And he's like, I'll still have you, Dad.
Mm,
And like that's almost what they're both learning from this race of species that lives even shorter than humans do.
yeah.
It's like we've only got what we've got right now. We may as well like enjoy it and not worry about it. And it's almost like you need to learn just because you're going to be around for 10,000 years
Mm,
doesn't mean you have to act like you're going to be around for 10,000 years.
yeah.
It's
Exactly.
it's an interesting one, an interesting conundrum. I'm excited for Invincible to get back.
Yeah. So am I. It's been too long.
Yeah, the length of gap has definitely hurt it a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think that first episode is going to come out. People like me and you are going to watch it. We're going to be like, oh, fuck yeah. And then the people who'd forgotten about it a little bit, going to be like, oh, yeah, that was really good. Now that it's back, I'm going to go watch it.
Mm,
But definitely a misstep. I'd have rather they just waited until the entire thing was ready.
yeah. Or like waited another month, month and a half, so the gap was only like a month.
2-3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, like a month at max. Like it feels like this mid-season break has ended up being bigger than it should have been for a
Yeah, it
mid-season
feels
break.
like we've got like a really short season 2 and we're going to get a short season 3 instead of it all being season 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming up in March, what else have we got? We've got another thing coming. Oh, X-Men.
Oh yeah.
I'm working my way back through the old X-Men 97.
I'm just gonna go in blind.
That's fair. It'd been so long since I watched it. I was like, nah, I want a little bit of a taste.
Like I have like a back of my mind, like I can visualize like the visuals of it, and like, oh yeah, I remember what like the style of how the characters looked. Other than that, I'm like, if the story's important, I'm sure you'll tell me.
Do you know what's really funny though? So there was a clip from like the third episode's going round
Okay.
of Charles showing Magneto the Holocaust,
Yeah.
like reminding him of it, and everyone's like, A, that's fucking diabolical, but B, Magneto's got his helmet on. How can Charles do that? I'm going to assume you didn't know this either. The X-Men films in the early 2000s
Mm.
changed Magneto's helmet so that it blocked Charles's psychic powers. That was not a thing before the films.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
I think I just presumed he ended up with like a new helmet that could now do that. Like I just thought it was like an upgrade.
So post the films, it's
Mm.
now been like made canon that Magneto's helmet protects him from psychic attacks.
Right.
But before that, the helmet was just drip.
Fair.
One of the few situations where a film was like, we're going to make a change for the better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with it just being drip. I think I probably as a kid just presumed it helped him focus his powers better. But yeah,
It's just drip or drown, baby.
fair.
Right. We have done 104 episodes of this.
We have.
Covering
It's a lot.
what I would deem very traditional, nerdy topics.
Yeah, we've had the odd outlier mentioned, but yeah, for the most part, we stuck to
So
pretty.
I did do a little bit of Googling. I'm just going to re-Google it now, but this is the definition of nerd.
Okay.
A person who is extremely enthusiastic and knowledgeable about a particular subject, especially one of specialist or niche interest.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a general rule, when it comes to talking about nerdom, you do talk about like science fiction, fantasy, board games, films, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, you can be a nerd about anything. What it really means is, what is like your special interest? What is it that you just get?
Yeah, what's a topic or interest, like you say, that you know more than the average person on?
Exactly. So I decided, bearing in mind we claim we are a nerd podcast, that we should allow the people to know what else we are a nerd for. So Horizontal, would you like to kick us off? I'm going to call you out if you miss out something that I think you should include.
Okay. Well, I'll kick things off with a couple that I think are pretty obvious, as we have mentioned briefly
in passing.
Yeah, one being gaming. We've often talked about gaming, although it's not like our main focus of the podcast. We are now introducing it once a month with our friend Josh.
With Josh.
But yeah, I mean, gaming. I've played games. I don't even know how long, how many years. Probably since I was a very young boy. since the original Crash Bandicoot days.
Do you remember Pong?
Not the original Pong. But another one that I've definitely talked about here and there in passing is D&D, probably. I've
Yeah.
played D&D on and off now for, I want to say, at least 10 years. Across different campaigns, DM'd some. And it's most part, I try, which me and my friends that I play with as a group, we try to do it weekly. Doesn't always happen, obviously, schedules and stuff. But it's like one of those things now where I will spend probably in my group the most time doing backstory and character description, to then have my character die first within like 3 sessions. So that's always fun. But yeah, probably D&D is like quite a big one as well that I'm quite nerdy on.
Okay.
I'll leave my other ones. I'll let you go
Okay,
on
cool.
some of yours.
I think my biggest one, other than like what's been discussed, obviously, like while we don't directly cover comic books often, I'm obviously in the grand scheme of comic book nerds, I'm very casual almost, but I am big into comics and I'm getting bigger and better for it. I'm really enjoying comics. But I think the big one that would surprise more people is how much I enjoy sports. And it's like seen as quite uncommon for someone who enjoys like superheroes and
Yeah.
video games and all that stuff to enjoy sports. But I love sports. Olympics is like one of my favorite time every 4 years. I'm like, there are so many sports you don't get to watch that often on.
Mm.
And I think it
Yeah.
all comes from just a love of competition. I mean, you know, I'm competitive as fuck about everything. I love it. I played cricket from like the age of 10 through until the pandemic. Pandemic was anything that knocked me off course, and I not got back into it. Football, cricket, American football, basketball. I have watched a bit of over the years, but time zones are not my friend at the minute. We're keeping up with basketball, especially with the amount of games played. But I just love sports. The other thing that I would say I'm an absolute nerd for is, I don't know how you describe it, content creation. In the sense of like the amount of times I've sat there and like, right, so I've been watching this particular YouTuber I never heard of six days straight now. This is what I've learned. I'm such a nerd for like this is someone who's doing it big at the minute and they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Or knowing what's going on in the streaming world. I just find it so fascinating. And despite the subscriber numbers on this channel and my channel, I feel like I do get content creation to an extent in a way that most people don't. Most people just turn on their YouTube, they watch their YouTube, and they go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I mean, fuck it, shall I out myself right now? I'm gonna go on my screen time right now and see how many hours in the last period I've spent on the YouTube Studio app.
Oh,
this is not gonna be good.
See, I don't do that much on my phone. I try to do everything on desktop whenever I do anything.
Screen time. How do you see your apps? App limits? No, I don't. I mean, I probably need an app limit. Here we go.
Browsing all those analytics.
Most used, is that in what
TikTok.
time period? Last week.
Yes.
Right. So last week, I averaged 5 hours 52 minutes of screen time a day. So that's what, 6 hours a day, about 42 hours. Just on my mobile, my third most used app was YouTube Studio.
Jeez.
The only 2 apps I used more than YouTube Studio on my phone last week were Twitter and TikTok. Even actual YouTube was lower on my phone than YouTube Studio.
Oh, I actually I barely watch YouTube on my phone.
Neither do I anymore, but like that just shows like the levels of what we're dealing with here. I will refresh that thing a million fucking times a day just in case. Yeah, so I think that's one that I don't know if people would realize just how much I love the numbers. I'll sit there and I'll see that we've had a week where everything's 10% better than normal, and I'm like, fuck yeah, that was a good week.
Yeah, I mean, I get all my information about how this podcast is
Oh,
doing through you.
we could hit 1 million subscribers and Harry would not know if I didn't
I
say anything.
I genuinely wouldn't. I think back when I first ever started doing like content stuff, it's like, yeah, I would like watch numbers. And I don't. It's not even a thought anymore. Like I'll watch it for the first couple of hours. TikTok I'm bad for at the minute for checking. Because I'm regularly posting, but that'll soon. Like I stopped looking after a day or so.
It's really funny as well because a lot of content creators I respect like do not look at the numbers, don't worry about the numbers, just trust you're putting good content out. I'm like, no, fuck that. I want to see every view. I want to know the minute someone has viewed something.
Yeah, but there's some content creators, like I know Courage JD was like that. He figured all the analytics out and like got it down to like a science almost. So
yeah,
there's different ways of doing it.
And that's what I don't want to like. I don't want to become like, and I'm not saying we could do this anyway, but I don't want to become a Mr. Beast level nerd where I literally work out the algorithm down to a T and just make something that's going to suit the algorithm.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But I am just like, if we can just change the pacing of stuff or the thumbnail or the title or whatever to get some more out of it, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, that's definitely what I would say I'm quite a nerd for. What about you? What else are you hiding away? Because there's a big one I'm waiting for.
I think I know which big one you're on about. So well, I'm gonna say photography because I think that's what you're getting at, and it's a weird one because I don't like. I guess I could be classed as a nerd for photography. I don't know
your
if
camera handy. Have you got your camera handy?
Yeah, it's
show them your camera.
I mean, it's actually a pretty basic DSLR.
Yeah, but in the modern world, when everyone has smartphones, the quality they do, if you're into photography now, you can do that with just an iPhone. So actually, just having spent the additional money on an actual camera that is just a camera, definitely puts you in the nerd category in the modern world.
It does. I would say that when I got this, iPhone and stuff cameras weren't as good as a DSLR.
Yeah, we get it, you're old.
But no, I mean, I guess I wouldn't jump to say that I'm nerdy at photography because I'm not like, oh, like you need to be for these conditions, you should do this shutter speed, this aperture, like all the different sets. Like I'm not. I just have. It started off as a hobby. I kind of realized, oh, I have a bit of a creative eye for it, and I just photograph stuff. I'm like, huh, these photos look pretty good, and that's generally how I've always shot. Is if it looks good to me, I'm happy. I do like minimal editing. I don't over edit my photos. I've kind of got a vibe down that I like, but yeah, I have been doing photography for a long time.
See, here's the thing, you downplay that, and I'm not trying to simp here, although I simp for the boys constantly, and I'll never shy away from that fact. But is that not what like artists inherently do though? They find their style and they stick with it, especially like in photography and stuff. Like a lot of like famous photographers, you can look at one of their pictures and know from the style of it that was Andy Warhol a photographer, or am I about to sound like an idiot? He was a painter, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that's fine.
Fuck.
I know what you mean.
There are photographers who have a style of photo, and just because of the style of it, you're like, that was so and so.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense that hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like it's. I mean, I probably my brother-in-law. He does a lot of photography, and I always doubt. I'm like, I just post my. He's like, no, your photography is good. Like, he's like, some of your photos are better than some of mine, and he takes it probably nerdier than me. He does now film photography, so like, I mean, he is full photography nerd.
So like proper negatives and.
Oh yeah, he develops his own films and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's another thing I would say I'm a nerd for. I'm a nerd for learning about little niches that I have no interest in and will never ever use. But I'm just like, 115-minute videos on how to develop film or how to grow a particular plant. Yes, I'll have that. Thank you.
That's like me with like some random creative things. I'll just be like, huh. There was like a period where I watched like this leather working YouTuber for like a month straight, and I was like, I really want to do this now. And then like a month later, I'm like, I have no interest in leather working anymore. But
I think that's one thing I've got good at though. Like I'll know that I'm never going to do it, but I still want to know. I'm like
I
I
get you.
want to understand how it works. Um,
I would say another thing as well. It's sort of on your realm of sport. I'm not that. I For the longest time I was not at all into sport. Although maybe basketball for a period during high school because I used to play it. But I would say for a long period of time I didn't care. Then I got into American football a bit from my brother-in-law. Then it was, but I've kind of fallen off. I follow that loosely now. But I would say definitely more recently over the last couple of years as I got back into like F1 especially, and kind of always have been a fan of cars. That's kind of my like other thing outside of the normal
you're a
nerdy
big
stuff.
JDM fan, aren't you?
I do love a JDM car. I would love to just go to Tokyo and essentially live out Tokyo Drift and go to all the car meets that do
Yeah, no,
actually happen.
that'd be fun.
But yeah, I'm very much do enjoy my cars. Have got much more into F1, which I used to watch as a kid with my dad. So it's like it's been fun getting back into it again. Um,
That's the one. That is the one sport I can't even like be semi
it's
interested in.
I feel
Like,
like
I'm not a
some
big fan
people.
of rugby, but when like the Rugby World Cup or England's playing a big game, I'm like,
Hmm,
yeah, fuck it. I'm just gonna watch it. I'm gonna have a great. I don't know what I'm shouting about, but I'll shout about it. I'm gonna have a great time. F1, I just don't really get it. Like, I obviously like you and the rest of the boys in Discord really enjoy it. So like by osmosis, I pick up a fair bit, and I
hmm.
like know roughly what's going on. But at the same time, it feels a lot of the time just like the best car wins. The driver doesn't matter as much as I would like them to. And I don't know if that's just because I haven't given enough time to it, but at times that's what it feels like. So I'm just like, feels like scale electrics.
I would definitely say the driver definitely does play a decent enough part. I would say in the last couple of years, just the way things have gone and the way the sport and money, definitely the team that like Red Bull had an incredible car, had just got like clicked with the design, and it meant they were just. It was a bit of a boring
Untouchable.
year last year because it was just Max won basically every race. Um, but then the interesting stuff is like everyone I feel like last year just was like, we'll just ignore first place and we'll just focus on everything else because then it's interesting. Because you have like good drivers in not necessarily the best car. So then you get like good midfield fights. Like the midfield's been a lot more interesting recently. But yeah, the years ago, I'd say when I was younger, it was a lot more like,
Driver heavy.
yeah, or you get like a random rogue team and just like create an absolute banger of a car, and people are like, "What the fuck? Why are they suddenly beating everyone?" Um, but things have definitely closed in a bit now. So, but I do get it. Some people like it's just cars going around in a circle. I think if you're not in like really into cars, it's harder to like understand motorsport.
Oh, absolutely. Because like the big thing I always love about football, American football, basketball, cricket, whatever, is yeah, they're team sports,
Hmm.
but then individual moments of just magic. Like some of Ben Stokes' catches, or like a Maradona or a Messi solo goal, a stunning catch in the NFL, a nuts dunk in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They are highlight reel moments that become iconic,
Yeah.
and like you see them for years and years and years. Like their helmet catch in the Super Bowl against the
Mm-hmm.
Patriots. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like you don't get stuff like that in motorsports as much because the moments don't physically look as impressive because it's not person centric, it's car centric.
I get you. There's definitely
So an
some
overtake
overtake
can be like
moments.
crazy impressive, but
Mm-hmm.
because it isn't a physical aspect of a person going up over another man and grabbing something or just like physically imposing themselves in the same way, it's not as good a picture.
Do you know what I need to get you to watch that came out the other
Oh,
day? Red Bull put out a video where they helped develop the world's fastest drone so it could keep up with an F1 car.
I think I saw that trending on Twitter.
And I would watch it because it's probably the first time where you can actually, like, somewhat on camera, get an understanding of how fast they are driving around those tracks. And I feel like once you understand that perspective, and then you see like three cars throwing it into a corner to overtake, you're like, oh, you're doing that without just plowing into the side of them. Now I understand.
Yeah.
I think a good one though that does motorsport that's probably better for moments is like Rally. Like I
Yeah,
used to,
rally's cool as fuck.
I've gonna try and watch them again this year because I haven't watched it for years. My dad used to watch it, and it's like Rally. I think is just a different breed, and you can like that. You get an understanding of like, oh shit, they are like, how are they driving this?
Oh yeah, I think that's quite like natural as well because like, also on the F1, apart from on the street circuits, which are still
Mm,
trackified, on
yeah,
the tracks you're like you can't really you've never driven on a track, so you don't get it.
no, yeah,
Rally cars, we've driven through dingy roads in the middle
yeah.
of nowhere in England.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can imagine this fucker trying to do it at
Like
130 miles an hour with his passenger just shouting directions at him.
just shouting numbers and left,
Yeah,
right, yeah,
like we get that if we try to do that, we die
yeah.
very quickly.
So yeah, motorsport is definitely something I very much enjoy. I have one more recency bias
Oh,
one,
go on.
which is Gundam. I've talked
Yeah,
about it a
you're big
couple of
on the Gundam at
weeks.
the minute.
I literally watched like 2 seasons, and then I literally went to, okay, let's look at the Gundam timeline. The,
No, not the timeline.
oh, you think like MCU timeline is a mess sometimes? Gundam timeline, the visual is like about 8 lines going diagonal,
Nice.
and I'm like, okay, where's the series I just watched? How do these and then what I've learned is there is an official main timeline. All the shows are like official shows, but they're essentially the easiest way I've got my head around it is they are essentially multiverses. They're alternate
Nice.
universes. So there's like,
These are all the universes where Gundams happened. This is how it happened in that universe.
yeah, there's the main timeline. And then a lot of the show, like a couple of shows I've watched, are they literally are the only thing on their timeline because it's like they've got their own flavor. So it's like essentially an alternate universe, which actually I quite like. So now I'm diving down the rabbit hole of like,
See,
what other ones are there?
see, in 2024 though, with how popular multiverse projects are, that might mean there's a multiverse Gundam project coming your way, and all your favorite Gundams are going to fight each other.
Oh, I don't know about that. I feel like that might cause the fans would maybe be like,
Just lose their mind.
yeah, there'd be some arguing about which Gundam should win and which shouldn't.
Ugh.
But yeah, definitely that, and I guess a bit of anime. I've been getting into anime, but I wouldn't class myself as an anime nerd at all yet. Too early.
No, you haven't started going, ooh, senpai noticed me, so I think
Well, I haven't started watching like One Piece or something.
we're good. Isn't that like a million episodes?
Yeah, and it's only just started. Like he's
See,
just
this
it's
is...
that's the prologue is just finished, and now he's getting into.
It's just, I respect it so much, but I have so many things I enjoy. I don't have the time.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
I've got stuff like Shogun, which is just come out on Disney Plus, which is apparently amazing,
Yes.
that I want to watch. And me and Jenna are trying this new thing where we don't binge it stuff anymore.
Oh, I
Because
can't.
what I noticed was I've got on my high horse a couple of times on here about how Netflix has ruined streaming by making stuff binge worthy because it stops stuff lasting as long, so people watch it all then forget about it.
Mm-hmm. You binge
So,
stuff.
and I was like, okay, but I'm being a hypocrite because I'm just falling for the trap.
Yep.
So like we didn't watch Reacher season 2 when it came out,
Mm.
and by the time we were ready to watch it, all the episodes were out. But I went, no, we're not going to binge it. We're going to watch one episode a week.
I can't. I have to binge. I can't.
No,
I'm so bad for it.
I'm fighting back. I'm keeping my brain used to having to wait for things. If I get too used to not having to wait for things, I'm fucked.
The hardest thing, like speaking of binging and somewhat still on anime, is like I was very late to getting to watch Attack on Titan, so I had a lot of people had to wait like more. I think a couple of years between seasons at one point. Didn't have any of that issue. I binged everything literally right up to the final season. And then I got to watch that weekly. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't know what everyone's problem was.
That was the meme after after Endgame, wasn't it? It was like when I let my kids watch the MCU, they're gonna have to wait a year after watching Infinity War before I let them watch Endgame.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to wait so they know what it felt like.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. The weight at the end of Infinity War loses a lot if like you just go right on to the next one and like you see what happens 2 hours later.
Yeah, there is situations where binging through stuff is not as great for the
It
impact
ruins
of the story.
the tone. Yeah, exactly. I would say the last thing I'm a nerd for, and this is gonna sound so look at me, I'm great, and I know I hate it when I come across like that. It makes me feel sick. I would like to say I'm a huge nerd for trying my best, because I know I'm not great at it sometimes, of trying to help my friends do something they want to do. Like when you and Josh get lazy with stuff or fall off staying on top of stuff, I like to think I'm one of the best for like, no, come on, lock the fucking, you've got this.
Can I just make a point?
Go on.
For someone to fall off from doing something, they would have to start doing something. Josh.
If Josh doesn't start editing that video soon, I'm going to turn up at his house with a knife.
Jeez. In the game, people.
Just going to sit there rubbing the knife against my face while I watch him edit, just like, get it done.
Nah, you don't lie. You are good for reminding us and getting on us for keeping on top of things.
You know what it is? It's a really morbid way to look at it. But I'm like, like you have them thoughts late at night. This is why I need to start going to bed earlier. Where you're like, what am I going to be remembered for? A long time ago, I was like, I would just like to be remembered as a good friend. So I'm like, fuck it. I will be the annoying bastard if it means that at the end they look back and they're like, he did his best to keep an eye on us and look after us. And it's a big thing I'm trying to work on this year as well. Like keeping contact with people who matter, because I'm terrible for it. You can just get so locked into your own stuff when you're doing it. And it's so easy to sit there and make excuses for yourself. Like, oh, well, on Monday I'm catching up on content, and on Tuesday and Wednesday I'm streaming, on Thursday I've got the podcast, and it's editing all weekend. It's like, yeah, but what about the people you care about? So I'm like, oh, maybe. Man,
Yeah.
It's rough.
It is.
Should we do some nerdy news now?
I think we should. I think that's enough talking about ourselves.
Yeah. Felt cringe. No parasocial relationships. Right. So, the reason I've included this is A, because it's very impressive, but B, because I finally watched Dune last week.
I still need to watch it.
Yeah. So, I wanted to watch it ages ago, and that's always with the amount of stuff we cover, it fell to the wayside. And then one of our friends was like, do you want to go watch Dune 2? And I was like, I do, but we've not seen the first one yet, so let's watch that quickly. Just give me a deadline and I get so much quicker.
Watch Dune quickly.
Yeah, it's only like 2.5 hours. Easy. It's crazy that I could just find 2.5 hours when I need to. It's crazy.
But can't watch The Bear, though.
I'm working on it. I'm going to fight this, man. How long did it take you to watch The Boys?
Like a week?
How long did it take you to watch The Boys?
No. A week. You're not asking how long it took me to start watching The Boys.
How long did it take you to start watching The Boys?
Sorry, my lawyer's not present at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, so Dune Part 2 comes out tomorrow as we're recording this. But there's been obviously loads of advanced screenings, critics and stuff. So after 200 critic reviews on Rotten Tomato, it is currently at 96%. It was on 100% up until like 80 reviews or something, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And it is currently the highest rated film ever on IMDb at like 9.6 or something. 9.7 maybe. Which is just crazy. And that's made me even more hyped to go and see this film.
Fair.
I've seen a lot of people talking like this is like a once in a generation kind of film. So we shall see. If I have any strong opinions, maybe I'll give a short review on it after I've seen it. It's going to really suck if everyone's like, this greatest film ever, and I'm like, it was fucking mid.
I feel like I'm going to need to go hurry up and watch Dune 1 so I can see Dune.
Do you know what it is? I feel like a bad nerd for not being caught up on it.
See,
do you ever get that with like certain nerd things? They get popular and you're like, but I'm a nerd. Like, that's part of my personality. How am I not up to date on this?
It's like, I know the Dune books is like quite a nerd grail of a book, and it's like
it's like sci-fi meets high fantasy.
It's like I've never paid any attention to it, and then the film's great and everyone raves about it, and the second one I'm like, I should really watch this.
I need to get back into reading proper books, and not just comic books, but I need to catch up on my comic books before I can pick up a 400-page fucking masterpiece. Anyway, Jeffrey Wright, who played Commissioner Gordon in The Batman, has said he'd like to cover more of Gordon's personal life in The Batman 2. He said this in an interview with Discussing Film.
Okay.
It's really interesting because I think the quote used, and I don't have the quote written down, so I might misquote slightly, but he basically said while talking to Matt Reeves, he said, yeah, Batman wears a cowl, and that's like part of the dichotomy. You've got Batman and you've got Bruce Wayne. He's like, but Commissioner Gordon kind of does as well. He's Commissioner Gordon, he's James Gordon. There's a difference there.
Yeah.
So he was like interested to potentially explore that. And I think that'd be quite interesting because if you do it right tonally, I think that can really give a two sides of the same coin. Pardon the Two-Face joke.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's definitely a way, especially with Matt Reeves' Batman, to show more of his kind of family side, personal side, would probably show you why he leans more to wanting to help Batman and include him. I could show that side of him.
Bearing in mind we've got the DCU coming, which is going to have its own Batman.
Mm.
I'm all in for Matt Reeves to stop trying to make the Batman films marketable to a wider audience too much and just go, right, 3.5 hours graphic noir. Like we're not even going to try and dial it down a little bit to make it more appealing. We're going to let the first one speak for itself, and the people who want this style will come see this style.
To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if James Gunn's already said to him, like, feel free to, like, you don't feel you have to, like, fit this into anything.
The only issue might be if like that does limit how much budget they can reasonably expect.
I think he's proven it enough with the first one that he should get a fair budget going forward now.
Variety has reported that a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem sequel will be coming out in October 2026.
Yes,
I think the preliminary date is October 9th, 2026.
I don't know. But, yeah.
I don't think that's a surprise to us.
No. I mean, we already
awesome animation style. The film did really well.
Yeah, and I think we knew the second one got greenlit because they also were doing a TV series.
Yes.
So
that's coming to Paramount Plus or whatever.
Yeah, something.
So yeah, it's cool to know that it's on the way. It's a long old wait.
It is.
2.5 years plus.
Yeah. I mean, it's animation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do not want animators to be right. It just sucks. I hate announcing stuff this early.
I mean, here's the thing. We know from the end of the first one, it's probably going to lean to Shredder. So it's like, I'm
so
ready
to see Shredder in this fucking animation style. It's going to be class.
That should be good.
Hollywood Reporter has claimed early work has begun on Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power Season 3. Hopefully, this will mean that the downtime between Season 1 and 2 isn't... between 1 and 2 isn't repeated between 2 and 3.
I hope so.
Because, Season 1 ended back end of 2022?
Yeah, and we guessed it... The rumor was it would probably be early 2024, and that's...
I mean, that would have been affected by strikes.
Yeah, which then obviously got affected. So we don't actually know when Season 2 is coming yet. I think the prediction is this summer.
Yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier about binge watching stuff. This is part of the problem with binge watching stuff now. Asking your viewers to still give a fuck about your franchise after potentially 2 years for a second season is a tough sell.
Yeah. Especially because it was a bit like mixed response to Rings of Power. We enjoyed it. There was obviously certain fans.
A lot of people didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of fans of the books that felt they strayed too far away from things. Whether that's right or wrong is your own opinion. But yeah, I hope there isn't as big of a gap between season 2 and 3 because I do think that'll just hurt the series even more.
Yeah. There is always a sweet spot between don't rush it, make sure you do the best job you can, but also don't work on it for so long that by the time it comes around, everyone's forgotten about it and doesn't care.
Yeah,
And it's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
it is.
But hopefully this is a good sign that season 2 is almost wrapped up altogether, all the way through post, and that hopefully we won't have to wait as long for season 3. This is a funny bit that I think only belonged in the news.
Okay.
After Rebecca Ferguson, actress from June, let slip in a press junket for June 2 that she has an actor she'll never work with again after they shouted at her on set to the point of tears, the internet is desperately trying to guess who they think it is.
Yeah, it was something
This
along the lines of
is
like multiple times and would be like, this is what I'm working with, and would like,
Yeah. So
oh, that's
I
all.
think one of the bits that really pissed off the internet was she said it was like near the end of the day and I accidentally fumbled my line slightly, which isn't uncommon on a
No.
movie set. And the person she was working with in the scene just absolutely went ballistic, talking about how unprofessional she is and was just really rude and horrible. And this person had been belittling other people on set, including crew members. So she said after that, any project that person was attached to, she had no interest in working with. So people are desperately trying to work out who it was. The leading theory for a little while
Oh.
was The Rock.
Oh, till he tweeted or whatever, put a post out.
So this is the thing. He then tweeted saying, "Oh, I whoever did this is an absolute scumbag. I hope we can deal with this." And everyone, oh sorry, it's gone two ways. They're like, "Okay, it's not him. On to the next." And then a bunch of other people have gone, I see through your lies, Mr. Dwayne Johnson.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what if he doesn't realize it is him? But
That's crazy.
I'd like to
Imagine.
think. I know he has a big ego, but I'd like to think that he is self-aware enough. Though he pushes himself on every project, I don't think we necessarily ever hear anything about him being terrible for the most
I'd
part to work. Like,
imagine he would be rude in a closed meeting room, but not on an open set with crew members, because
no.
that shit would spread like wildfire.
And let's be honest, he came from wrestling, where a lot of that is all about publicity and press and keeping a good face, good press. He knows how to present himself and not get himself in hot water. So I doubt it is him.
Another popular theory at the minute, people have been looking back at stuff she's worked on,
Mm.
was Emily Blunt.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Emily Blunt very quickly shushed that room. Was like, no, we're good friends. We talk quite regularly. So now the leading candidate is apparently Jake Gyllenhaal,
Oh.
who has been accused a number of times on set of being a bit weird. I don't think he's been accused of anything like heinous on set, but he's been accused of being quite weird on set before. And apparently during one project, they were trying to shoot a late night scene and he just ran and jumped in the ocean because the ocean was calling to him. So by the sounds of it, he's a bit of a weird guy to work with.
Sounds like he works high.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if the internet does manage to sleuth their way out of this and work out who it was. One of my favourite ones was there was a child she worked with on a show called, I think his name's Jason Tremblay, and he's like 12 years old. So someone
amazing.
created a fake tweet using his picture from the show, just going, I just shouted at this bitch at work today and no one said anything. I own this city.
That would be amazing.
That was really funny. So yeah. Look, the internet is having a lot of fun with that at the minute, and I hope to find out who it is. I would love for her to get asked in like her next press junket, like, you let the story slip, and the internet wants to know who it was. And at this point, it's not even bad PR for her to out them.
No. The problem would be is if she outs them and then they try to get it done for like defamation or something, and she doesn't have like physical any evidence to prove that they did do that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It would be a bit techie, but
Because if there's someone the person that's done this sounds like they wouldn't be past like doing something like that to try and get it shut down. So
yeah, I thought that was very funny. Let us know down below who you think it was, if you have any leading theories. And then a last little bit of scummy news that's less funny. LA Times have reported that in a new lawsuit, Amazon have been accused of using AI voices in the Roadhouse remake,
Mm.
during the strike to stop the film from missing its release window and potentially causing them to lose their copyright protection or whatever.
Hmm.
So it sounds like they've been accused of using actors who were cast in the films,
Yeah.
voices via AI, so the film could still progress during the strikes.
That's going to be such a tough one to prove, though.
It is. And Amazon are really, really good at not losing lawsuits because
Mm.
when you don't pay your workers fairly, you can pay the lawyers a lot of money.
This is true. Um, I mean, I feel like it's going to be one of those things that'll either get quietly settled or it'll just nothing will come out from it. Because they can't substantially prove that it is AI voices.
What we really, in reality, need with how scary AI is we need this to be kept big news.
Mm,
We need them to get found guilty and
yeah.
find a metric fuck ton so that the precedent is set that just scares studios away from it.
Yeah. It, do-
We need
it,
to
do-
just
we need an example made, unfortunately, but like, I
and
do
no,
think it's going
there
to
is
be
no
tough.
fine you could give Amazon that would sink that company.
No.
So just take them for all they're worth. I just AI is terrifying right now. There's not enough protections. So we need to take everything like this and just hope for a really aggressive outcome in favor of the actors or whoever,
Mm,
so that the precedents are set.
yeah, it does need something like that, unfortunately.
Exactly. That is it for us this week on
Yes,
the
that's all the
Cutscene Combos
news.
podcast. Busy week. Some interesting bits of news there. Let us know what you thought down below the entire episode.
Mm,
Don't forget to like and subscribe,
yes.
and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.